What's up, boys and girls? Welcome once again to another episode of the tier list slash prediction video, right? Welcome to the tier list slash prediction video for IESF 2022. That's going to be in Bali for the World Championships here. Firstly, I do actually want to say, if you guys don't know, no, actually, we'll talk about it once we get into the rosters, right? We'll be talking about the teams here. We'll be listing them in the tier list. And while we're doing that, I'll actually also be talking about the rosters, right? So the teams who qualify to represent their countries. Without further ado, I think it's time to just start it off right now with the tier list, right? So we're going to do the tier list first, and then we're going to move on over to the prediction, the actual prediction, right? So here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the predictions. Welcome to the tier list. Okay, we're going to be putting in a few countries instantly off the bat. Firstly, I do think we're going to start with the host country, which is going to be Indonesia, because this one's the spicy one. All right, this is the controversial one. We've been talking about the controversy surrounding the Indonesian qualifiers. Again, if you don't know, if you guys haven't watched my previous Starcast, for the Indonesian qualifiers, they swapped it last second. The initial qualifying process for the team to represent Indonesia was whoever won Piala Presiden will be selected as the team to actually represent Indonesia. Now, Bigatron Alpha went on to win that tournament, but then they changed the system last second, and they faced a lot of different teams: Yasbi Esports, Aura, Fire, Evos Legends, and Bigatron Beta. All four teams, they faced each other off. They faced all these teams against each other. And then the winner of that mini tournament was Evos Legends. So Evos Legends went up against Bigatron Alpha to finally decide who was going to be representing Indonesia for IESF. Now, in the end, Bigatron Alpha lost to Evos Legends 4-1. So now the roster that's going to be playing for Indonesia is going to be Evos Legends, but this is a new Evos Legends roster, ladies and gentlemen. You guys might think, right? It's the one with Clover, it's the one with Versick perhaps, or it's the one with Sutsujin. No, this is a completely new roster. I think it's a mix, right? It's a mixed roster. Psychots is going to be the XP lane. Nothing changed there. Klokun is going to be the mid laner for Evos, so it's not actually Taz, right? It's not Taz, it's not Krite from MPL. It's Klokun. This guy was an Evo's icon player, MDL. He's really solid. Then we have in the jungle, not Versick, not Sutsujin, we have Taz. Taz returning to the jungle position. Now, in MPL Season 10, he played as a mid laner, right? And he was a really good mid laner. I really enjoyed his play style, but now he's back in the jungle role. And if you guys remember, I said it during the broadcast, he's, in my opinion, one of the best fannies I've ever watched when I casted his games in MDL. Obviously, when he played in MPL, it was a different version. He still had the mechanics, but in terms of macro, playing on the higher stage, it's much more difficult than MDL, and that's why we didn't really see him shine. But with this, with the time that he's been given to actually learn jungle again, he might prove to be like a nuisance, actually. I have a lot of faith in Taz. I've always thought that he's an insane rookie player, and I can't wait to see more of him in the jungle. Then moving on over to the gold lane, we have Brands, again, a former Bigatron Alpha player, the king of marksmen, we call him in Indonesia. He's a really solid player, and we also have Dreams, right? So for this team, because it's Indonesia, I have a lot of information on them. I don't know how they usually play with this roster, but usually when they have Brands in the roster is they like to play with Brands to carry in the later stages of the game. Now that they have Taz, maybe they can actually play around Taz to get that early to mid to, try to snowball. But I think even after all the controversies, right? Even after all the problems with the qualifying teams, I'm going to have to put Indonesia as still... I would put them in A. I'll actually put them in A, right? Because I feel like they're still going to be a solid team. This is Evos Legends. This is the Evos. Even though it's a new roster again, I do feel like it's a solid roster. I really like Taz in the jungle. I really like Brands, and I really like the whole team. The only question mark I have, or the only doubts I have for this team, is definitely the XP lane Psychots and the mid laner Klokun. How is he going to perform in international stage? I think for both of these players, actually, Klokun and Psychots, because we saw Psychots play in the MPL and MPLI, and I saw him play in MDL. In MDL, he was an absolute beast. He destroyed everyone in MDL, right? But when he stepped up to the MPL stage, there's some jitters there, and he wasn't able to overcome those jitters in the end. For an event as big as IESF, where he's going to be representing his own country, I think there's going to be more pressure on him, and I think it's going to definitely impact his performance, right? Same thing goes for Clockon. He doesn't really have a lot of stage experience, so these are the two players that I have doubts about in this roster. But I still think this team is a solid team. Definitely, I don't think they are the favorites, though. Coming into this tournament, I think they are going to be A tier. Still a solid team. Everybody cannot overlook this team, right? They can still be a solid contender. Next up on the list, though, we're going to move on over to the next country, which is going to be, hey, it's our neighbor, Malaysia. So, Malaysia, before we talk about Malaysia as a whole, we'll talk about their roster. For IESF, they've actually opted to go for the Todak roster. The Todak roster qualified to represent Malaysia. And the roster is going to be 4 Mays in XP lane again. We got Rival in the jungle, Moon in the mid lane, Momo in the gold lane, and Yumski in the roam position. Now, I do believe Chiku is in this lineup. Chiku is all role. So I don't know what the actual lineup is going to be. I mentioned the roles just now and where 4 Mays will be playing, while Rival will be playing based on Liquipedia. I don't actually know who's going to be playing what. Again, Todak, they like to just do their own thing, and they have always somehow been able to make it work, right? And Malaysia has always just been, honestly, a solid country, a solid team. This Todak team as well has always just been a solid contender in all international events, going up against everybody. But this time, after seeing their performance in MPLI, after seeing their individual performances as well in MPL Malaysia, well, mostly just MPLI because I was really impressed by Todak in MPLI. I honestly think they are one of the favorites to actually win the whole thing. Now, why do I think this way? Why do I think that Malaysia is one of the favorites? Well, we need to talk a little bit about the ISF qualifiers again, right? So from Southeast Asia, there's only supposed to be 1 slot. And in the Southeast Asian qualifiers, I think the top 3 teams that made the teams that made it to the top 3 were Malaysia, Malaysia, Philippines, and Myanmar. So these 3 teams made it to the top 3. Myanmar faced off against the Philippines, and Myanmar actually won. Myanmar proceeded over to the finals to meet against Malaysia, and Malaysia destroyed this Myanmar team that won against Philippines, right? So in terms of a matchup perspective, Malaysia, with this Todak roster that we've seen, the synergy that they've built for I don't know how long. This team has just been here forever. The players as well. Moon, Chiku, very experienced. I am honestly expecting them to do really well in ISF. And I'm expecting Malaysia to actually... Yeah, I think they are one of the favorites here in this tournament, considering their... if you take a look at their track record, if you take a look at their MPLI performance, if you take a look at their ISF qualifier performance, I think they've got it, man. The roster that we'll see, again, will definitely be different as well from MPLI. The MPLI roster was a experimental roster, and looking at that, I mean, with an experimental roster, they did so well. I wonder what their main lineup will look like, right? And they'll definitely use their main lineup for IESF. They're going to definitely go all out for this one, and that's why I'm going to be putting Malaysia as as an S tier, as one of the favorites. So S is basically favorites to win, okay? Next on the board, we are going to be talking about Argentina, S11 Gaming. Now, for S11 Gaming, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, okay, I already mentioned it. It's S11 Gaming. The team that's going to be representing Argentina is S11. Now, they have Papa Dog in the XP lane. They have Jotun in the jungle, Meteoro in the mid lane, Civ in the gold lane, and Erwin as a roamer. They also have Hide on Bush, who is a substitute jungler for Argentina. And this is where it gets kind of weird for me, right? Because I personally haven't really seen a lot of games from S11. I don't really know S11's track record. I do know from Latam last year in M3, the representative for Latam was not S11. It was actually Malvinas Gaming from Peru, yeah, the Peruvian Warriors. So For Argentina, S11 especially, I do think that right now playing in the world stage is going to be very different. Domestically, they were able to get the first seed. They were the champions of the Latam qualifiers to actually get into M4, and they beat Malvinas Gaming, right? So this is a team with a solid foundation. It's a good team. It's a solid team. But unfortunately, on the world stage, I've never seen them, right? We haven't seen them play on the world stage before. And here, I honestly think that they are going to... Well, I personally think that they're not going to be in that top... they're not going to be a top team, you know? Unfortunately, I'm going to have to put Argentina on B. I think they're not on the level of the Southeast Asian teams just yet. Again, they're still a very new team to the world stage. We'll definitely see them improve again and again. We'll definitely see that. But for now, I'm going to have to put Argentina in B tier. Next up on the list, we got Cambodia. Now, Cambodia, I think at this point, a lot of people don't look at Cambodia as a powerhouse, right? I remember last MPLI, we saw Cambodia, last MSC, 2021 MSC and MPLI 2021, we saw Cambodia. We saw two teams from Cambodia that were just really scary. Impunity with OP, with White Knight back then, right? They were so solid. They were able to take a game off of Execration, the champions of MSC 2021. Then we also saw See You Soon in MPLI 2021, where they were able to send Todak home in day one. That was crazy, right? We always thought with the tournament having, with no Myanmar in the MLBB tournaments last year, we thought Cambodia would take Myanmar's place as the dark horse, as a team that will really surprise everybody. Now, in M3, that didn't happen. They were knocked down on the first day. Burnix Flash got knocked down on the first day of MPLI. We've just seen this first day knockouts. Groups, even Impunity got grouped in MSC 2022. So Cambodia hasn't really been a country it hasn't been a powerhouse, you know. We haven't been looking at Cambodia as a threat that much everywhere since this year started. This roster obviously is it's not technically a new one. There are a few replacements, there are a few changes from the Impunity roster that played in MSC 2022, but it's Boom, Oppi, Lutu, Deja, and T. They also have Senpai and Ming in their substitutions, right? So honestly, for Cambodia here, I would usually just put them in the dark horse category, but considering their track record, considering their performances, I'm going to have to put them in the B tier, guys. I would put them in the high B tier, though. I would say they're definitely better than Argentina for now, in my opinion. But I don't think they can be placed in the A tier. I don't think they can be placed in S tier. And because of just their performances, I don't even feel like they can be placed in the dark horse position right now. OP is back in the jungle, though. That's something that's going to be very interesting to see. We'll see if that works out. But we're going to move on over to the next country, which is going to be Namibia. Now, Namibia, this is also a team with a little bit of controversy. Obviously, it's not the player's fault. It's the governing body of Nigeria, I do believe. So if you guys don't know, again, I'll give you guys a little bit of a backstory for the African qualifiers. So in the African qualifiers for IESF, in the finals, it was Nigeria versus Namibia, where Nigeria was able to actually beat Namibia. But because the Nigerian government didn't send the documents in time, didn't pay in time to the organizers, they weren't able to actually go to represent Africa, and so Namibia took his place because they were the second place. They were the first runner-up, and that's why we're going to see Namibia here. Now, personally, after watching their games, unfortunately for me, I was not impressed at all with their performance. It's for me. I don't feel like their performance was very surprising, was very insightful. I feel like Namibia might be the first team to get knocked out in this tournament, to be completely honest with you guys. And I'll put them there. I think the list goes like this. Okay, we will rearrange the countries later on based on the order of who I think is stronger. Okay, but we're gonna move on over first to the next country on the list, which is gonna be Philippines. Now, Philippines, this is a roster we've seen too many times. Too many times. This is the blacklist roster, the M3 World Champions, the MSC 2021 runners-up, the 3-time MPL champions. Yeah, Season 7, Season 8, and Season 10. Wow, my God. An accomplished roster. We got Edward here. It's the main lineup. It's literally just the main lineup. Okay, guys? Literally the main lineup. Dapadap, which is Edward. Del Rosario, Wise in the jungle. Imam or Haji in the mid lane. Soriano or Oheb in the gold lane. And obviously Villaluna, oh my Venus, in the roaming position. Now, I think honestly we have to put them in the S tier here based on their performances. Sure, MPLI definitely not a convincing performance from this roster, from the Blacklist International roster, but they've said it many times as well that ISF here, they're going to try to go all out. They want to get this trophy for their country. It's a very prestigious event. So with that in mind, Philippines, every time they're in a big tournament, they always perform. They rise to the level of the tournament. They rise to the occasion. We've seen this in the last 2 M Worlds, M2, M3. We've seen this in MSC. The Filipino countries have just been able to dominate everything in MLBB for the last 2 years. Yeah. And even the SEA Games, Asian Games. Yeah, we got SEA Games. They got SEA Games twice. Gold medal. And this was also with the Blacklist roster. So I think with the time given to actually adapt to this current meta right now, Philippines will be definitely one of the favorites as well at the top there. We will rearrange this, by the way, to see who's actually number 1, who's number 2. Next, though, we're going to be moving on over to Slovenia. Now, honestly, I'm sorry, guys. Slovenia, I don't think they're going to go far in this tournament. I think they're going to be stopping very, very early in the event as well. I think they might be the second team to be knocked out after Namibia, unless they meet up in the lower brackets. We'll see how that plays out again as we get into the brackets. But for now, I'm going to put Slovenia in B tier as well. Now, for their roster, Slovenia is going to have... the team that's going to be representing Slovenia is OBF Esports, with Arakiel in the XP lane, Benoy in the jungle, Rimuru in the mid lane, Bonnie in the gold lane, and Clyde. Oh, they got Bonnie and Clyde. I like that. But that's going to be the roster for them. They won the European Championship. And, well, actually, fun fact, they actually did not win the European Championships, ladies and gentlemen. They actually lost 3-0 to Ukraine. Unfortunately, though, because of the issues going on in Ukraine, they weren't able to fly the Ukrainian players over to IESF. That's why they took the first runners up as well. So literally kind of the same story as Namibia. Both of the first runners up from Europe and from Africa will be the ones playing and representing their countries or their continents. Slovenia, I'll have to put them in B tier. And next, we're going to move on over to the last, but definitely not the least, Vietnam with MDH Esports. Now, for MDH, again, if we're talking about Vietnam, I can't put them as a powerhouse. I don't feel like they are a powerhouse. They have, well, the Mekong region has proved us wrong before. IDNS were able to actually win an MSC title before when nobody were looking at them. And I think with MDH Esports here, the team that finally can dethrone IDNS, they can finally represent the Mekong region. You know, they were able to beat IDNS. IDNS have been representing Mekong and Thailand for so long that I can't remember the last time that they did not represent. But I think MDH Esports here, this is a team that we might be able to look at as a dark horse. This is probably our dark horse for the tournament, right? They were able to beat IDNS pretty convincingly. They also qualified to M4. They're going to definitely be using this to improve and to try to get that trophy. And if the teams here overlook Vietnam, I think there might be a little bit of trouble for the teams, right? But now I think it's time to change the order, ladies and gentlemen, of the teams of who I think will be number 1. Now, in terms of the tier list, I do think Philippines still is number 1, just based on the track record, right? But honestly, I think if we're talking about this meta, the like kind of skirmish meta, a lot of fights going on, Malaysia can definitely climb up as number one. I think it's definitely going to be very, very close. Blacklist International's play style, their playstyle doesn't really work that well in this current meta, in my opinion, because of all the skirmishes happening and all the area of effect damage and all the stuns going on. But with Carmilla and with a lot of the adjustments that the Blacklist players have been making in the past few, I guess the past 3 weeks between MPLI and IESF, I do think that they will definitely have worked out a strategy that will work for them, even in this meta. That's what they're known for, just adapting to the meta very, very fast. And right now, I do think they've had enough time to actually adapt to the meta, read it through. So I'll have to give Philippines number one here. Obviously, this is a fun fact as well, ladies and gentlemen. It's so weird. It's so weird, but it's something that's constantly happened. Every single time I cast a Filipino game, the Filipino teams have won, except for the upper bracket finals of MSC. Whenever it mattered, the Filipino team wins when I'm casting. Blacklist RRQ, Onyx PH RRQ, and M3, RSGPH RRQ, and then MSC 2021, right? Evo's Execration, Blacklist Execration. I was casting those matches as well. And because of that, the Filipinos have named me the Filipino Lucky Charm. They've given me a title. Oh, it's not a title that, as an Indonesian, it's not a title that I want, because obviously I want to be a lucky charm to my country. But hey, that's a fun fact, because I'll be casting the ISF tournament all throughout with Momo-chan and Arashi. So let's see if it's true. All right, we'll see it here, because guess what? In MPLI, both the PH matches that when RSG PH lost and when RSG PH lost and when Blacklist lost, I wasn't casting. So maybe it is. Maybe I am the Filipino lucky charm, dude. But yeah, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. This is the official tier list for me for IESF 2022 in Bali. And now we're going to move on over to our predictions for the brackets. Yeah, let's move on over to the brackets right here. We already have it. We already have it ready for you guys here. Okay, so we are going to be predicting. Firstly, we're going to be predicting the upper brackets first. So let's just move on over here. I'm not going to be predicting the scores, guys, because I feel like scores are just... well, you know what? I won't write the scores down, but I will tell you guys how I think it'll play out. Cambodia versus Namibia. I think Cambodia has it, man. I think Cambodia are going to be able to 2-0 Namibia, to be completely honest with you guys. So I'm going to put Cambodia over here. That's a 2-0 in my books. Malaysia, Vietnam. I think Malaysia are going to be able to beat Vietnam 2-0 as well, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to be moving Cambodia. I'm in Malaysia here. So right now we got Malaysia versus Cambodia in the upper bracket semifinals. We're also going to be moving Namibia down to the lower brackets. Okay. Whoops. Accidentally put Malaysia there. Let's put Namibia down here. And then let's put Vietnam down here as well. Okay. Then Slovenia, Argentina. I will say Argentina takes this. S11 Gaming, a little bit more experience. Better playstyle, in my opinion, compared to Slovenia. I think they are going to be able to take Slovenia down. This one might be 2-1, but I'm still saying 2-0. I think a lot of the games here will be 2-0. Here, Slovenia will fall as well. Now, Indonesia, Philippines. This is going to be the highlight match, obviously, of the day of ISF early on. Now, this is the big question for me currently, the question that I have to all of you guys as well, or the topic that I want to raise, right? Indonesia, a lot of Indonesians have said that because we don't really have a lot of prep time, we basically have a week, all right? Because we just found out our Indonesian representative yesterday. So before today, they've had the last 2 weeks competing up against other Indonesian teams instead of preparing for the international teams, like all the teams you see here on the screen. So because of that, it can be a double-edged sword, right? There's not a lot of data to go by when we're talking about this EVOS Legends team for Philippines, so maybe Blacklist won't be able to really read Indonesia's play style, Indonesia, and how this team will actually will play in this tournament. But Indonesia as well, they're not going to have a lot of prep time for Philippines. We are literally just 4 days away from flying out to Bali, so that's basically the same time that they have as well before we actually start the event. So we'll see what happens here, but I do think it is going to be Philippines who actually takes this game. Now, I honestly think because Philippines don't really have a lot of data to go by for Indonesia, it might be a 2-1. Oh, my bad. It might be a 2-1. Okay? But I do think Philippines are going to be able to move on forward to the next stage. Pretty convincingly here against Indo. It might be a 2-0, but I'm saying 2-1 because I do feel like that double-edged sword is going to be able to kind of help them out, right? Indonesia, because there's not a lot of data to go by. Next, here, we're going to be moving over to the lower brackets first, guys. Okay? So Namibia, Vietnam. I'm going to say it's going to be Vietnam 2-0. And I think Vietnam will be the first team to actually enter the lower bracket quarterfinals. Indonesia will also 2-0 Slovenia, in my opinion. So yeah, I was right. Just now I said in the tier list, right? I think Slovenia and Namibia will be the first two teams out of the tournament, and right now it does look that way. But we're gonna move on over to the upper brackets again, I guess. Right now, there you go. Upper bracket semifinals. Cambodia versus Malaysia. I think it's gonna be Malaysia who takes this one, guys. I think they're gonna get revenge for that match in MPLI 2021. It wasn't impunity, it was see you soon that knocked Todak out, but I do think Malaysia will be able to take this and move on over to the upper bracket finals. Winning it, I do believe this one might be 2-1. Malaysia has that style of just going full Langgar. Well, I guess it's just Todak who has that style. Up against Cambodia, that's something that you can't really do. Cambodia are really good at taking these crazy fights and skirmishing and actually coin flipping fights. So I think you can expect Malaysia to make those kind of mistakes. And it'll be a 2-1, I think. I think 2-1. I think there's a high probability of it being 2-1. But here, I do think Philippines will take Argentina down 2-0. S11 Gaming going to be knocked down to the lower brackets. And Philippines and Malaysia will meet in the upper bracket finals. That is insane. That is crazy, chat. That is crazy. All right? We'll see. Okay, so Argentina will move down below. Let me just move Argentina down. Okay. And let me move... Oh, wait. Argentina are going to face Indo. That means, yeah? Okay, and let me move Cambodia down. Now, this is where we can actually get a little bit spicy, right, guys? Cambodia versus Vietnam. Honestly, I'll say Vietnam. I'll say Vietnam. Let's give Vietnam a chance here. The dark horses, right? Let's see if they can actually take this dub. I honestly think Cambodia might get taken down by Vietnam. We'll see. If Vietnam are able to stop that aggression early on from Cambodia, because how Cambodia likes to play is they just really like to go all in, aggressive plays all around. If Vietnam can actually hold and weather the storm, honestly, I think they might actually be able to beat Cambodia. It's just going to be a 50-50, honestly. Cambodia, Vietnam, it's definitely going to be 2-1, in my opinion. Cambodia can win. Vietnam can win. I'll say Vietnam just to see. I want to really see something different here. Vietnam. Let's see if MDH Esports has it. Next though, Argentina, Indonesia. I think we're still gonna go for. My bad, G. We're still gonna go for Indonesia here. To move on over to the next stage. Yeah. And then let's get rid of this first. Let's just move in. I think Indonesia will be the first team to actually enter the lower bracket finals. I think Vietnam will lose out here. I think in the top upper bracket finals. Honestly, guys, I don't know why, but I have a feeling. I have a very, 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 very weird feeling that Malaysia will actually get the better Philippines in the upper bracket finals. I don't know why. I guess it's just like, I think it's just it's just the Filipino teams. They enjoy being in the lower brackets a bit more. I don't know. Like, obviously, they would want to just go for the upper bracket way to the grand finals. But blacklist in the international tournaments, this is what they've always been doing, right? Even RGPH, most Filipino teams in international tournaments have been doing this. I don't know. This is also a 50-50. It's also a best of 3, guys. Every match is a best of 3. Instead of except the grand finals. Grand finals is going to be a best of 5. Now, again, this is a 50-50. I can be wrong here. I do think Malaysia definitely has a chance to actually beat Philippines. Philippines can also just take them down right here. But I'm going to stick with my gut feeling and say Malaysia is actually going to go to the grand finals first. Oh, my bad. So Malaysia moving on to the grand finals. First team in the grand finals, guaranteed top 2 position. I am stupid. I am going to have to copy it here. By the way, I haven't moved my screen. My bad, guys. My bad. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Here it is. Okay. There you go. So, Philippines versus Indonesia in the lower brackets. Man, as much as obviously, like, I'm an Indonesian. I want to root for Indonesia, but because of the prep time that they've had, because of this roster being so new, I'm gonna have to say Philippines takes this. I think even 2-0 again, just like the first time they met in the upper brackets there in the first match. But here in the end, I do think Philippines will be the champions of IESF 2022. Yeah. I think Philippines will actually win here, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. I think it's going to be close. 3-1 or 3-2. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. 3-0. It might be, but I'll still say Philippines are going to win. Although Malaysia are going to give them a tough fight. And honestly, Malaysia can win this, guys. This Todak roster is so scary. I love seeing them play. They have a very, very good play style. But I think this is it. This is how it's gonna look like for me. Philippines number 1. Again, it's getting to a point where Philippines is just too dominant. I think in terms of their performances, that's how we've. This is a pretty normal, pretty safe prediction to say the Philippines won, but seeing Malaysia getting into the grand finals, that's something that I really want to see. Right, finally something different. It's no longer Philippines Indonesia. Maybe with this tournament, we might see Philippines, Malaysia, and then Indonesia can get back at it at M4, right? So we'll see, but that's about it, I think. This has been Mirko's prediction for IESF 2022. Hopefully, you guys enjoy. If you guys agree with my opinion, go ahead and leave a comment down below. If you don't, leave a comment down below as well. Like the video. Tell me what you think about the whole thing, tier list, everything about all the different countries, how you think it's going to play out, if you think Malaysia will actually take Philippines down here, if you think Indonesia will actually win. Tell me anything. Give me all your opinions in the comment section down below. And hey, join the Discord if you guys want to actually discuss about this in my Discord, right? So let's go. Just join in, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you guys when I see you guys. Probably streams the next day, or maybe the day after tomorrow, because I have a few things to handle before. But peace out, boys and girls. Mirko out.